Hello, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons. My name is Fergus. I am your host. Slight change in lineup. Trevor had to call off very late on, but we are going to look at set piece again. Ole, ole. It is the Fulham game that we're looking at. Myself and Lyle were there. We froze our nuts off there. It was absolutely freezing, wet, and the stewards weren't very nice either. But we'll talk about that and much, much more. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. This is your Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Enjoy the show.
Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome, as always, to the show. Andrew, back again. Andrew again. Andrew again.
Ole.
Andrew, we got you back. Del, you're back joining us again after a couple of weeks off. And Lyle, it's been a little while. Cup of tea.
That's it. Like Christmas, gents, comes around once a year. Good to be back.
You're on the tea today. Is that because yesterday was a little bit heavy?
Yeah, do you know what? Days like yesterday remind me as to why I don't like Sunday football and why I stopped drinking heavily at Sunday football. Because I woke up this morning and I felt very worse for wear.
Yeah, I felt generally lethargic is the word I use all day. I don't really have a hangover as such, but I feel like I walked up, my watch on my phone said, I don't know, about 10K. I was on the phone to Andrew earlier on a work thing, and I had to stand up earlier because my whole hamstring and my calf just went into spasm. I'm not used to this sort of exercise. Christ, this body is a temple.
I know. It's a long old walk from the pub to Craven Cottage, isn't it? We're not used to that. We usually just stumble out the Woodbine, and then it's just a quick shuffle, and then in the ground.
It is. We'll talk about the meetup and everything else shortly. Andrew, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm very well, mate. Not bad, thank you. Not bad. Just sort of trying to get over yesterday as well, with a little bit of disappointment, a bit with it all, but we keep pushing.
And Dale, it feels like ages since you were at football.
It does feel like a while, doesn't it? It does feel like a long time. I'm not there midweek either, sadly. But I'll by hook or by crook, I'll see you boys before Christmas. Don't worry. Looking forward.
Christmas jumpers on Saturday. Remember, Christmas jumpers on Saturday.
I'm on the lookout for a ticket still. I exchanged my tickets for the 2 extra for the Palace game. I don't know, it was the Forest game, wasn't it? So I'm still on the lookout. If anyone comes across a spare, please.
Gav put one in the chat earlier today. You should have picked it up.
Some of us work for a living, Ferg, and we can't just stand up and stretch our calves out on a works teams call. We have to actually work.
Oh, you're saying works teams call. It was, yeah.
Touche. It was a social call. Lyle, we were down at the 8 bells at 10 bells in Putney Bridge, and it was a good bunch of lads. There's me, there's Dave, there's Trev, there's Dan, and there's Kirk, and then on the opposite side we had Dave, Ryan, yourself, Billy, Jason, and Kieran, and I can't remember the young lady's name. Shannon. Yeah, that's it. And there was also Gav in the background. He was at the bar getting the Guinnesses. It was quite strange, actually. There was 2 Irishmen standing there drinking lager, and everyone else was drinking Guinness.
It was one of those where it's just like I couldn't believe it. So we've all rolled up there, and I mean, fair play to Jason. He's a top gooner, top man, and he's one of the Irish contingent who fly in from sort of the Emerald Isle for every game. And he was there, sort of, I think he's up from 2:30 o'clock in the morning to get to the game, which is just unreal commitment. And you all standing around drinking lager, and the rest of us were on the Guinness. So that doesn't happen often.
Yeah, it's all about pacing yourself. There's only so much Guinness that a body can take on a long session like that. I got home with a curry in hand at about 8 o'clock, so that's like a good 10 hours. And they were sinking down very well. Do you think that was because we were a little bit nervous and we knew the impact of the importance of this game? Liverpool's game had been called off because of the storm Dara. So we had the opportunity to go 4 points behind Liverpool, even though they would have a game in hand. Points on the board count. Did you feel a nervousness in the pub?
Oh, massively, 100%. You could tell it straight away as you got in the pub. It was that sort of subdued atmosphere where wasn't super loud. I mean, I know it's 2 o'clock kickoff, but it wasn't your usual sort of away pub. I think everyone was a little bit nervous because they knew just how big a game it was. They knew we needed to get 3 points to put the pressure back on Liverpool. And yeah, it was strange. I said that when we were sort of having the drinks. I just said it just doesn't quite feel right, and you just hope it didn't translate into the pitch.
Dale, did you feel that nervousness? Did you hear it when you were watching the game? Did you feel it beforehand?
Did I hear it during the game? No, you guys on the TV did not sound like you were nervous in the slightest. I thought the away support was absolutely phenomenal, just like it always is. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, especially with obviously the Liverpool game being called off. And thinking back to this time last year as well, we lost the league by a couple of points. And the reality is we dropped silly points at Craven Cottage last year. So that plays on your mind. It really does. And when you look at the significance between the two teams as well, like Smith Rowe there, Iwobi, Leno, there's a lot of old Arsenal boys there as well. They didn't want to lose that game, and that does play on your mind. It has to.
Andrew, your thoughts? Were you and Theo thinking, "Oh, this is a great opportunity for us to close down on Liverpool, put the pressure on them, make them"? Did you feel the importance of the game and the result that we needed?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we needed to go and get the 3 points, didn't we? So put the pressure on as well, just to sort of make that game in hand that they had a little bit more important for them as well. I still think they'll drop points. I still think we've got that, but to catch them, we've got to take our chances, and we've got to sort of benefit these. That we've got to sort of really to catch them all. And I think that first half was just really frustrating. I was starting the game, I was like, yeah, we're going to do this. We'll be absolutely fine. I was just really, really confident, but as we got to that end of that first half, I was just thinking, oh, no, it's going to be, we need something to spring into life here.
Well, we got into the stadium. It's a really strange setup at the Putney end of Craven Cottage. It's an open back stadium, so you type of sometimes think, I'll leave the pub, we get to the stadium reasonably early, get some beers in, get a sing-song going, and you can keep a bit warm and dry. Not at Fulham, not down by the tent. It was freezing, absolutely freezing.
You know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of Stoke away years ago, just absolutely freezing. It's like you got the back of the stand, it's just like open, and like the weather we had this weekend, we're just all freezing there. And you're drinking your lager, and you're thinking, actually, it's the one time I think I'd have a hot cup of tea or something like that, because it was absolutely bolted at the back of that stand.
The cold in the lager was just dragging out any heat out of your body.
Do you know what? We should have brought some whiskey. We should have brought some liveners in.
We should have. Super Kevin Campbell's flag went on tour as always. He's been right round Europe and loads of stadiums. Trevor's done this all season. Trevor's there with Kirk. We also bumped into Jamie and Kieran before the game as well. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the fixture. It was Captain Martin Odegaard's 100th game as captain of Arsenal Football Club. Before we go on from that, out of a score 1 to 10, I'll go to you, Andrew, and then Dale, then Lyle. Where would you score Odegaard's captaincy out of a scale of 1 to 10?
Why'd you come to me
no
first?
Warning.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't in the notes, is it?
No, it's not.
No, it's not. You've got an Alex on me. You've thrown some dummy notes in. Do you know you can't score him anything less, I don't think, than a 9, because he is the pivotal part of that team that makes us tick. Without, and it proved over the last few weeks. We covered it a few weeks ago. Without Odegaard, we don't have the play. We don't have the person to make that pinpoint pass. So he is the cog that makes us all tick. But again, it's like, what else do we need to sort of to bring him on? But I think he's absolutely phenomenal. And what a great signing. I remember we got him in on loan, and I can remember right, he didn't exactly hit the ground running, did he? And then all of a sudden it just all sort of fell into place, and we just couldn't do without him. So for me, he's irreplaceable.
Dale, Andrew said a 9 and highlighted why he's irreplaceable as part of our squad. But is he irreplaceable as a captain?
It's a very good question. I think that you got to look at it as two different kind of aspects, because as a player, he is completely irreplaceable. I think he's incredibly important and one of the best in the world at what he does. So as a player, for me, is higher than 9. As a captain, it's a good question. I mean, I guess a captain, we aren't best to answer that question really, because we don't see behind the scenes and what he does there.
Very true.
From what he does on the pitch, he makes a very good impression on the pitch. He's always there getting the fans going, regardless, win, lose or draw. He's always the one that goes around every single wherever the Arsenal fans are. He would always go around and applaud them, regardless, home or away. He's always the first one there. He leads by example. So from that perspective, I think you have to score him very highly. From the actual leadership perspective, we don't see what goes on behind the scenes. But when he's not in the team, it's noticeable. So I think you score highly. It's hard to put a number on it because I don't really know.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I don't know, but.
Lyle, we see him week in, week out. You go to even more games than me. You go every game. He does seem like a quiet guy, but he's always there geeing up the team. He's very reflective. He's very classy. He does fit the Arsenal DNA. But is he the right captain, or would you choose somebody else?
No, I'll give him a 10, and I'll tell you why I'll give him a 10. So I think we've got to remember that football's changed, right? So obviously, I grew up. My hero growing up was Tony Adams, right? Mr. Arsenal, and all the stories which the players would tell. Adams walking around the dressing room, hollering, shouting. The first North London derby that Lee Dixon played, and Tony Adams grabbed him by the throat and said, "Son, do you know what today means? We can't lose," right? That doesn't exist anymore. Modern football has changed. These players are completely different characters. These dressing rooms are different. You've got different characters from different backgrounds. It's not like the old Tuesday club days where everyone was piling down to the Gunners, 35 pints, 35 pint, please. And I just think Odegaard, the way he manages to get an arm around all the players in the dressing room is just fantastic. And I think, for me, he epitomises everything you need out of the modern day captain. There was a big debate when Declan Rice signed last summer as to whether he should be the captain. But I just think that Odegaard offers us that something which is unique. And you saw it when he signed the contract. He did that place where I belong. We were just talking about what Arsenal meant to him. He's finally found somewhere which he can call home. And I just think just small things like what they did for Ben White after obviously all the shit, pardon my French, which he got when all the stuff that the media and other rival fans tried to throw at him. And obviously Odegaard was pivotal in getting that sort of feature released on Instagram. And Arsenal player, everyone was saying what a great guy Ben White is, and I just think he does so much behind the scenes for the squad. So for me, it has to be 10 out of 10. But I do think we are very blessed. We've gone back to what Arsenal should be, which is where you've got leaders all over the pitch. I think there are some fantastic candidates as well. Gabriel could easily be a captain. Rice could easily be a captain. Saliba, Saka, Ben White, Jorginho, so yeah.
Yeah. Let's look at the lineups. As you said earlier, Dale, there was 3 ex-Arsenal players in the Fulham lineup. Nelson wasn't eligible, 1 due to injury and 2 due to the fact that he's on loan from Arsenal. Arsenal did have some changes with no Calafiori. Partey was at right back. Trossard started. Jorginho started. There was a lot of changes. Del, how were you with that lineup?
I'm going to revert back to your video walking down to the ground with Trev, and it was mentioned that Partey at right back, and Trev said he's got no issue with it. I'm the opposite. I think Partey is wasted out of his natural position. He is. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Partey is one of the best at what he does in the league in his preferred position. Yeah. He is superb. He's phenomenal. Dan's touched him in the past as well on these podcasts, saying that it's almost like a back five. You've got to include Partey next. He's so important to our defence as well. And I stand by that. So although he can play right back, he's had a couple of good games at right back more recently. We can say Liverpool. It's not his position. We're trying to put square pegs in round holes. I do not like Thomas Partey at right back. And that may be controversial. Some will say he does a job, but some will say he don't. It goes to show that maybe we've got some players we need to kind of assess in the background. We've got youngsters on the bench, right? We've got Tommy coming back and people like that. There's got to be better options than putting Partey at right back. And the reason I say that is mainly because we miss him so much in that middle. He protects that defence so much. He unlocks the potential in Odegaard as well and Saka. And we're just a lot more dangerous when he's in that position, both attacking and defensively. So that was the big one for me. And I'd like to see that change going forward. I don't know the answer, but then again, I'm not paid to know the answer, right? That's down to Super Mick to work out. But I just think we do miss Partey massively in the middle. Other than that, lineup, not really surprised. We've seen Zinni at left back recently. I thought there may be a chance of seeing Zinni in there, maybe, and Timber at right back. That's what I thought he might have done. But other than that, I think it's pretty much as expected, really.
Andrew, it was the 9th back four we've had this season. We're only 15 games in and 9 different combinations of back fours. Lack of consistency in the back line, injuries. That's got to be playing some sort of factor into why we're just not quite ticking. I know there's some comments in here about from Simon and so on about the low block. We'll cover that in a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at that. I mean, the one thing your back four needs is consistency, isn't it? You've got to make sure you've got this, pretty much the same back four in there all the time. If not, just a slight change. I completely agree with Dale. I think the minute that I saw Partey was the way he was, I thought, no, that's not where we want him. We want him sort of further up, and we want him sort of, as you say, again, making that back four into a back five. Actually, for me, it just does not work at all. You look at kind of where we play, and we've covered this over and over again, and we'll cover this again later. Fulham called us on it. All our play goes down the right hand side. You cannot leave Saka on his own on that right hand side because they're just going to go 2, 3, 4 up on him, and he hasn't got any way. It was much later on in the game, but what really summed it up for me was Partey looked really leggy, and there was a point where Odegaard was screaming at him to get that ball up and to sort of go past him, and there was a bit of a sense of frustration on that side that we just didn't have any creativity or as much creativity as we usually have down that right hand side, and it doesn't work for me at all. He shouldn't be there. We're looking at who we had on the bench. We had no other options really, to really put there, but we really do need to, one way or the other, find some consistency with the back four.
Lyle, there was much talk in the stands, there was much talk at half time about this. And look, Jorginho does a great job, and he's a great backfill for Partey when Partey's not available, and he's a great leader. We saw him in Lisbon, we saw him in a few games where he's been really outstanding. But Timber, if all our play, and we'll see when we go through, I've got some stuff lined up, all our play is pushed to the right-hand side. So we need Saka, Odegaard, and Timber or Ben White or whoever's available on that right-hand side to push the play and create all the pressure. Why put Timber on the left?
Yeah, great.
We should have put maybe drop Jorginho. You could have put, there was Lewis Skelly available. There's I doubt he'd get a full 90 minutes out of him, but there's Kieran Tierney available. There's other options. We could have changed the formation slightly. What did you make of the lineup? I'll just run through the lineup. So for anybody on audio, if they haven't seen it, it's Raya, Partey, Saliba, Kivior, Timber, Rice, Jorginho, Odegaard, Saka, Trossard, and Havertz.
So I do have a lot of sympathy for Arteta, and I agree with what the boys said. I mean, it's been an unfortunate season for our defenders in the sense that we've not really had he's not had the players he's wanted all fit together at the same time, and then we've got adequate backup, and then it's like at one moment you've got loads of left backs and you've got loads of left backs injured, at one moment you've got loads of centre backs and all the centre backs get injured, so it's just been a merry-go-round. But look, I think the biggest problem we had was what Dale and Andrew said, is that losing Partey in the middle was massive. And for me, the reason it's massive is his physicality and his engine and his ability to just get the ball, turn and break the lines. I think it's just him and Rodri in the Premier League who are at that level. No one else comes close to them, in my opinion. So I think we really missed that physicality. And you saw it, right? We started so slow and in the middle of the park on a wet, windy day at the Cottage, massively missed him. In terms of the back four, sympathy for Arteta, but I would have played, it sounds rogue, I would have played Tierney at left back. He's an experienced campaigner. He's played in conditions like that all the time in Scotland. He would have done a job for us for 60, 70 minutes at left back, get the first goal in. And I also don't know if that goal happens if you've got, Kieran Tierney at left back as well, because he's such a good one-on-one defender on that left side. Left-footed. So, yeah, I would have played Tierney at left-back. I would have had Partey in the midfield. And don't work for Jorginho. I love Jorginho. I think he's a great squad player. But on those physical games, like the Fulham game was, it's just not suited to him. He's better off in the European games, a bit slower tempo, where he doesn't have to sort of do all the running around. He can play his passes. He can dictate the possession. Whereas when you've got a game like Sunday, it's just not made for him. So, yeah, difficult one.
Just seemed a bit bizarre to put Tierney on the bench and then not play him.
Well, that's my
clearly
thing.
he's fit enough to be on the bench.
That's my thing. And let's be honest, right? People saying Lewis Skelly can start, right? Look, that's madness. You can't ask a kid who's a midfielder to play at left back, because you look what happened at the Liverpool game, right? He comes on, plays left back, he gets slaughtered because he made the mistake. It's not his natural position. So I think in that situation now, Lewis Skelly's never going to play. It's always going to have to be one of the recognised defenders.
Yeah. Listen, we saw a lot of the ball in the opening exchanges we faced. We forced plenty of corners. I think the stats is, I can't remember what the stats are. I think we had 13 corners overall, but set piece again, ole. And with that pressure on Fulham, they didn't try anything. Look at this image here, and we'll talk about their opening goal in a second, but it did all come from this image. And I've nicked this off Match of the Day because me and Trevor are having an exchange on Twitter at the minute. He's not happy with Troy Deeney, but I thought Troy Deeney and the footage on Match of the Day was really, really interesting in the sense that Fulham were happy to forfeit the left-hand side because there was no threat. And forfeiting that left-hand side and having Partey out of position at right back and having an excellent player like Timber at left back is an absolute waste. And they did break on that side and exposed Kivior. Kivior got turned by his man and he went on the inside of him, and Jimenez. But a great goal. You can't fault what Fulham done. Lyle, they played us like a trumpet, didn't they?
They did. And when that Fulham goal went in, we almost had an absolute brawl in the stand between a couple of individuals I'm not going to name, because obviously everyone was saying, well, it was a great strike. Others saying that Raya should have got a hand to it. So it is an interesting one. I think Fulham were just smart, right? They knew that Arsenal were probably going to go and do what we like to do, which is play that sort of slow possession style football out from the back. And then when we pushed up the park, they thought, hang on, we've got a chance here. And it was such a smash and grab against the run of play. So you got to give them credit for it. And I've got to be honest with you, that was a world-class finish. Now, whether you think the keeper should have got a hand to it or not, for Jimenez on the run to smack it like that, it's just a top quality finish. And I think that shows the importance of having those kind of forwards in your team who've got that in their locker, that they can put those kind of chances away.
Andrew, post that, you sent me this photo. They just changed the formation, didn't they? Once that Jimenez got that goal, they changed to a 5-3-2, made it really harder. They got their goal, and that's it. Job done. Just don't let Arsenal get at us.
That's what they were trying to do. You look at that picture there. I mean, there's 8 Fulham players in that picture compared to our 1, 2, 3, 5. And that's supposed to be, that's us attacking. And there's just nobody sort of coming up. Then this is where I think
it's 9 and 6, by the way, and you're in finance.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, it is 6. Yeah, sorry, mate. That's why my figures were wrong this morning.
Yeah.
But look at that. You look where there's a big gap there as well. You put that back up again. There's a big gap where you'd expect to see Partey. You'd see where just sort of like where the ref is sort of here, the back. Down there, that's where I'd expect him to be. So to mop up those balls, but and this is where we kind of lacked the creativity and the speed. When we got into that position, we just kind of stopped, and we didn't sort of play the ball. We didn't move it around quick enough. I mean, you go back to Wednesday night against United, did exactly the same thing in the first half. We were slow, we were knocking it sideways, we were just running out of options. The second half, we came on and we were moving the ball so much quicker, and that's kind of where I thought we'd sort of pick up the pace from there again.
Yeah, but Andrew, do you think that's because Trossard's starting off the left-hand side? Because there's been such a debate today, right? I haven't seen anything like it for quite a bit of time in terms of people piling in on Martinelli. Now, regardless of your views on Martinelli, which I think some of the stuff which Arsenal fans are coming up with today, saying that he shouldn't be in the squad, he's not good enough, sell him, is complete rubbish. I mean, make your mind up. I mean, he scored a cracking goal at Stamford Bridge, nearly a month back, to get us back in that game. And the kid's quality, right? You can't say he's rubbish. That's just a stupid argument. He's low on confidence. Being low on confidence and rubbish are two completely different things, right? But when Martinelli starts for us off the left-hand side, I think we're a better team because I think we've got a lot more energy, and I think Trossard's better off the bench. And I thought we didn't get in behind in the first half, did we? I mean, you obviously watched it on TV, so you'd much better view than us. But I just thought that left-hand side killed us because he didn't have the pace of Martinelli. Timber was worried because he had Keyrall next to him, so they didn't want to bum up too much. And just a recipe for disaster because then Fulham can just sit in because they say, well, you're just going to go down the right-hand side with Saka. You put 2 or 3 men on him. What's he going to do?
But they did though, didn't they? Because that's how they got the first goal. Is they literally sat there and waited for us. They could nick the ball off us and then hit us hard. And it's that. I mean, that pass to Jimenez is a great ball. And you put it, but to me, and I said it straight away. And I texted it to Ferg the minute the ball in the back of the net. But Kivior, with just exploding head emoji, because you just said it to me. I was always taught as a centre back, you stay with the man. Doesn't matter what happens, where that ball goes, you stay with the centre back, and you just stay and you keep him to the side where you want him to go. And he's completely twisted him. I mean, whether it's really good play for Jimenez or not, but it's just that is where we miss, and this is where we go back to our back four being consistent again. That's where we really, really miss the consistency of the back four, because no way in a million years is he getting past Gabriel in that situation. He's taking him out and he's going to stop him. But no, I do agree with you. I think Martinelli would have given the start of what we needed to get, to speed that play up and to get the ball further up the field quicker. Because it was that even they were saying it on the commentary, Arsenal get into the 18-yard box and we're running out of options. There's nobody there for us, no one making those little runs inside. And I think that's where, again, we come back to Ben White and Trossard being in the right positions. They make those lovely little runs to open the play up and to pull the plays apart. Because when we started, they attacked us. We came back and we actually had lots more room, which is what we wanted. And bizarrely, I said to Theo, it's kind of almost like we need Fulham to attack us to give us more opportunity to actually go and score. I know it's dangerous, but it opened up more opportunity and gave us more space.
And breathe. Dale.
You need to get out of your chest.
I think he was a bit frustrated by that, wasn't he?
Have you seen the interview? I think it's Scott Parker, and he's got the streets talking over it, and it's like that's what you just reminded me of. But there's some very valid points in there. Some very valid points. One of the questions I've got for you boys, Ryan, is that there's a lot of talk about. We can just switch the word Martinelli with Trossard, right? So it's one of them two who's been playing on the left-hand side. One of the things that we haven't had is consistency on the left-hand side, right? So do you not think that the constant change of left-back is not allowing Martinelli and Trossard to find their own game? They're constantly playing with different people.
For me, the issue, Dale, has always been the left-back situation. Calafiori has played and won in all the games he's played, but he's got a fitness issue at the minute. When Calafiori's playing, which I think is the reason we bought him, Martinelli or Trossard, and for me, you always start Martinelli, is better and more successful. We have the channel and the feed of players feeding Saka, so it goes Timber, Odegaard, Rice, Timber, Odegaard, Saka, and then into the box. We don't have that same mirror on the left-hand side. We work better with Zinni and Xhaka and Martinelli because they dovetailed quite well together. We haven't replaced that combination for Martinelli. I also think Martinelli is lacking a little bit of confidence. Do you agree?
His comments bang on. If we can put this one up where it says we didn't move the ball quick enough and we didn't pull their defence out of position. Now, I think this is spot on. So my biggest gripe with the man behind me is that when Trossard plays on the left-hand side,
the guy with the long hair.
Yeah.
Lovely.
When Trossard plays on the left-hand side, we play such slow football because Trossard's strength is not running in behind. And I hate when Arsenal play like that. We play with the handbrake on, right? Whereas you look at the other week at West Ham, you look at in Lisbon, we were playing fast, counter-attacking football. What Heath said here, spot on. We didn't move the ball quick enough. There was too much defeat. There wasn't enough trying to get in behind. We weren't moving Fulham around. And I think that's actually the bigger issue for me, is that we can be so slow and side to side, like Andy said earlier.
And why is that then, guys? Because when Rice is playing that 6 role, and I think also Jorginho is similar, it is very much Rice's tendency is to go sideways or maybe slightly backwards. But when Rice is playing that 8 role, which last season he was playing really, really well, this season I don't think he's really kicked on properly in that. And I think maybe it's a case of that's where Moreno needs to sit and Rice needs to go back into that 6 role. Del, why do you think that's not working?
I think it goes down to the Partey effect again. I think Rice plays so much better when he's got Partey alongside him. I really do. I just think they bring the best out of each other. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if it's trust issues. I really don't know. I've got no issues whatsoever with Marino. I've got no issues whatsoever with Jorginho. I think they're both fantastic players. But I just think that three in the middle, when fit, it has to be the Rice, Partey, and Odegaard. I think we have to work around that. I really do. But that goes down back to what we were saying before. Then who do you play left back, right back, etc., etc. But I don't know. It's a tough one.
I mean, for me, right back is Ben White. I mean, Ben White, I think for me is Mr. Dependable, right? He is your 8 out of 10 every game, right? I mean, and he comes up with some important goals for us. All the stuff he does. I think Arteta's big. I like Simon's comment around this is good because I think there's two issues. So the reason Martinelli was so effective in the 21-22 season, I think it was, or 22-23, I can't remember, I'm losing track of time, is you had Zinni and Xhaka. Those two were playing quick football between them, unlocking Martinelli. Zinni was overlapping. Fantastic. Martinelli's problem now is that every time he gets the ball out wide, he's got 2 or 3 players on them, right? When's the last time he got to run onto something, yeah? And you look at him, he's most effective. All of his goals come from when he's either running onto something or he's making a run in behind and he's got a tap in it. He doesn't do well with his back to goal. And that's where I think Arteta's got a huge issue with him because he has to work out how he's going to play his football.
There's a lot of good comments coming in the chat there. If you're on Twitter or you're on YouTube, feel free to add your comments on there. Lucas, we continue to apply the pressure in that first half. Rice, Trossard and Saka all had opportunities to score. But we went into the second half and we tried to pick up the urgency. Declan Rice swung in a really nice free kick to Thomas Partey and he just couldn't connect in front of goal. Andrew, I know later on, again, Partey should have got his head to something. He headed it wide. But that one for me, when I look back on Match of the Day, he was a toe poke away from scoring a great goal. To be honest, Rice was in the first half as well. They need to just be a bit better at this, don't they?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we've got to start taking our chances because this is what we're missing, isn't it? And we've, it was kind of a little bit like that again, a couple of games ago where we had so many opportunities and didn't sort of take them. And, eventually we get there. But unfortunately yesterday we didn't. I mean, we had 67% possession in the whole game and in the first half and he managed 1 shot on target. And you just kind of think, sort of like how much of that play. I mean, Fulham scored their first goal when their first shot on target. And I think they only had 1 other shot in the first half. So we had a majority of play and just can't, we couldn't find that end result. But yes, I do think that's probably down to the low block, but even in the second half, we were taking opportunities, but it kind of begs that question, doesn't it? Again, in January, do we need to go and get somebody who's going to put the ball in the back of the net for us to win these points?
Half the fucking team did against West Ham. Sorry. Listen. Hang on. Partey did get his head to it. It did go wide, but it did result in a corner. And from that corner, Saliba scored another set piece. The away end was set piece again. Ole, and it was absolutely brilliant. And you know what? It's the most strangest ground ever, Dale. I don't know if you've been, but I've got to be careful. There's people nursing their children in the stands, in the posh stand. Yeah, there was young children. It was really nice, lovely family atmosphere, but it's not Premier League football sort of atmosphere when you're looking at a derby. Could you imagine somebody bringing their 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 6-year-old to a derby game against Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham, Millwall, or anything like that? Fulham versus Arsenal, of course you can. But set piece again, ole. How many goals is that? 23 goals from set pieces, 14, I think, from corners. Mm-hmm. Fulham done well because we had, I think, was it what we had? It's not on there. I think we had 13 corners in this game, but Fulham done really well defending against these corners leading up to that by being extremely physical. You got Traore there who made Saliba his best mate for the whole game, and every corner he was tucked into him, very personal.
Yeah, with the corner situation, right? I saw a comment. I don't know if it was on here or on social media, wherever it was, a couple of weeks ago, saying, "Have we been found out?" So want to touch on what something that the commentary team said, which you guys wouldn't have heard in the stadium. They said, you know what's going to happen. You know exactly where the players are going to go, but you can't do much about it because we're that damn good at it. It's we've got corners, and there's been a couple of occasions over the last few weeks where somebody on the pitch will look across to the bench and ask what corner routine we're going for. What's the one we're here? So they do switch it up a bit. If you look what the runs they make, right? In fact, I'm going to put something together for the next podcast on this. They all tend to start at the back post, right, and go in different directions. And you look, there's different routines where different players go to the same places, but on different occasions. So it is working. And the commentary team hit the nail on the head. It's honestly, our set pieces are magical. It's like a penalty at times, right? But I've got a question to you guys who are in the stadium. Did that song get going? Or we talked about the other day?
Which one?
Jover and Jover and Jover again.
No, I tried it in the pub. It didn't work. As Trevor said, PG said Paddy went more in the pub than the Jover and Jover. People don't like to mess with
classics.
Don't like to really mess with.
Just quickly on what Dell said, right? In the last week, the two people in the media who've spoken the most sense, and this is laughable, about the set piece bit, is Paul Merson and Troy Deeney. Now, what's interesting is that obviously we got compared to Stoke City, so everyone said, "Oh, Arsenal, the new Stoke, rah rah rah." Now, Troy Deeney come out and talk sport, and he said the most intelligent and articulate thing I've ever heard him say about Arsenal. He said, "No, it's actually really well worked. In the modern game, you've got people who don't want to head the ball. Arsenal are exploiting it." Merce said the exact same thing when he was on Sky. And I think it's interesting because you look at the modern game, there was that sort of shift where everyone wanted sort of more ball play and centre-backs. They didn't really want people who could put a head on it. A lot of midfielders now, they're not really that bothered about, heading the ball. And so I do think it's a really good ploy that Arsenal have got where we're exploiting the weaknesses in the modern game. So I do think you've got to give us credit for it. And if anyone else could do it, they would do it. That's the harsh reality. We're exploiting.
We talked about it in the pub, and when you look at this strong arm tactics by Traore, and who was the one on Match of the Day? Was that Troy Deeney? It wasn't it?
That image there is a foul. That if that happens in the middle of the park, that is a foul, 100%. He's got his arm round him.
But this is the point that he was talking about. You can be physical. It's not a non-contact sport. There is some element of contact. And we talked about this in the pub beforehand because I talked about, I think it was about the punch the punch that led to Gabriel being awarded a penalty. And I said, well, he's come out. And it expanded into the conversation about corners and strong arm tactics in the penalty box. And that's a really risky thing because, as you say, Del, that could easily be deemed, and you see him, he pushes him right off the pitch, could easily be deemed as a foul. If that's a foul in the box, then it's a penalty. But
it's
for us, for us, well, we come in and we charge, we block the keeper, we roll. Who was it? We rolled against West Ham, I think it was the other night. We roll a defender, and it's like, oh, Arsenal are at the dark arts again.
If it gets given for you, you're absolutely over the moon. You say, "Yep, great refereeing." If it gets given against you, you're howling and you say that the whole world is corrupt and the PGMOL needs to burn to the ground. So it's one of those where I think it's a
huge gamble for a defender to do that, though, isn't it?
This is they've been allowed to get away with it, right? If we say it for what it is, they don't apply the letter of the law in certain situations. It's all down to interpretation, right? And this goes back to what they were saying. We were saying the other day. They're talking about let's look at the one that they're going for next year. So if a goalkeeper wastes too much time in the box, they're going to look to award a corner, right? So hang on a second. Well, one, what's too much time? Is that again interpretation? I'll go back to what we say in a minute. So
we're going to concede a lot of corners next year.
So, exactly, yeah. But at the same time, there's already rules in place to stop them doing that anyway. They just don't apply them. So all they've got to do is apply logic and the rules to what the current situations, and it all stops straight away. It really does. I mean, I've got no problem at all. I mean, I played centre half for what little football career I had, and I was physical. I'd still be physical now. I like that aspect of the game. It's part of the game, right? But I just think if it's a foul in the box, it has to be. If it's a foul in the middle of the park, it has to be a foul in the box. If not, it's down to nothing but the referee's interpretation.
I don't know if you guys could see it actually in the stadium though, but after that one, he was all over Saliba on the line, and he actually went up to the ref. He went up to him and told him to stop. But then, as soon as the ref turned his back, he was doing it again, and it was just kind of like constantly over and over again.
But as Dale said, I don't really have an issue with it because we pull on players' shirts and there's argy-bargy. It happens in the box. It's football. So I just thought, I thought, like last season when West Ham schooled us at our place, I think Fulham and their manager actually sussed out our tactics, found our weaknesses, and we couldn't break them down. It's a question that we need to look at. Like, there's a couple of other topics that I've got on here. There was the VAR, how long it took to do a VAR when it's clear and obvious from there that he's onside. You can see the foot is way ahead of the arm, and they took for ages on there. And then we'll get to the late goal afterwards. Raya was forced to make a save. I think it was about 70 minutes in, which Pereira, that was down from a push up after I think it was a set piece. Again, ole. There was a set piece, and Saliba was still far up on the pitch, and he lost the ball. Andrew, talk us through that. You mentioned it.
Yeah, Saliba lost the ball on the 18 on the edge of the 18-yard box. And they just broke on us. And when that ball got played to Pereira, I mean, he's a great player. He nearly left Fulham, didn't he, last year for Bayern Munich? It fell through, didn't it? But when he started running and there was nobody back, and you just kind of thought, oh, here we go. They're going to sucker punch us again. It's a great save, but there's nobody getting back. Everyone's like gunning, trying to get back to try and cover him. And it just shows you how far up we were trying to push to actually get that goal. And that's the one thing I was concerned about. And actually the point where I turned Sky Sports off and changed channel because Carragher was giving it everything. And it was just like, no, I'm done with you. And over we went. But it's a great save from Ray, and he's kept us in the game. But he's done that a couple of times now. He did it against United on Wednesday, didn't he? He made that phenomenal save to his right-hand side. So he's certainly earning his wages at the moment by keeping us in some of these games.
And then very late on, it was carnage. I didn't see very much of it because some steward wouldn't sit down and.
Oh, we almost had World War III at Craven Cottage. Bloody hell!
Mate,
you need to elaborate now. What happened?
So basically, right?
You talk. I need to do what I need to do.
It's a bit interesting. We're going to get Lyle in the story now, not Fergs.
Yeah, it's quite funny because basically what's happened is we've scored and it's gone nuts, right? I've almost died. I've been put in like a bear hug. Like I'm going to go see the chiropractor tomorrow. Like my glasses got absolutely smashed up. It's just limbs, right? People everywhere. And so then what the stewards had done is they were scared. So then they've all come flying down the front and they basically ringed off the perimeter because they were scared that if we were to get a goal, all the fans would go over the top. And then what it is, there's this geezer who's just standing in front of Fergus. And Fergus is getting irate with him. He asked him about 3 or 4 times saying, can you get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way? And the guy was just looking at him. And I think because Fergus was saying that, it was making him even more determined to stand there. And then it all started kicking off around us. In the end, I just said to the head steward, look, mate, can you just get your pal just to stand down a bit? And in the end, he did.
To clarify, I asked him 3 times politely, excuse me, mate, would you mind a move? I said, look, I've paid to watch this game. Would you move? Oh, we don't want to stop you. We want to stop you invading the pitch. It was the other old boy who came along and he said something to somebody, and somebody told him to F off or whatever. Yeah, and he said, you can't swear. And then Kieran came along and said, there's no law against swearing. It's impolite, but there's no. He was so good, Kieran, on that one.
He's not doing anything illegal, sir.
Yeah.
It's like talking to his head teacher. It's like your head teacher. It's like the head teacher's confiscated the football at school, and he's like, "He's not done anything wrong, sir."
Well, I've got this wall mountain of a guy in front of me, and in the end, I've given him like, X say, can move? And then all of a sudden, his boss comes like, "No need to swear, sir." I said, I've asked him 3 times politely to move. He hasn't moved. I just want to watch the football. He still didn't move, so I didn't see very much. But anyway, it went mad, and there was VAR, and it was tight. I'm going to ask you guys on TV first, Dale, and then Andrew. Martinelli, we clearly see it's offside. There's no debate about whether it's offside or not offside. It's offside. Martinelli, in his role, this is where I think he's come in for the pelters. Should he be doing better, Dale?
100%. That's where he lets himself down for me. It's the intelligence there. There was no need to be offside there. It was, I mean, the offside decision took way too long for what it was. Right? We knew it was offside. You guys in the stadium didn't have the same privilege we did, so that must have been so frustrating, thinking you got like a last minute winner, and then 2 or 3 minutes, what probably feels like an eternity, waiting to go. Is it? Isn't it? Is it? Isn't it? No, it was just, I don't know. No, I just think silly from Martinelli. Really, really silly from Martinelli. I do think that, but you know what? It is what it is. You can't change it, can you? I think all this gets sorted out a lot quicker when we get automated VAR in next season, or semi-automated VAR. It'll call that within seconds. But no, that's where I think Nelly has to pick up. I've got no issues with Nelly playing at all, but I think that's one part of his game he does need to be a bit smarter on.
Andrew, briefly, your thought on Martinelli and his play, his in-game awareness for that, or positional awareness for that.
I think he's hit the nail on the head. He's got to start looking across the line. He's got an opportunity there to go and win it for us. And I think, is that down to just a little bit of lack of confidence, that he's just too eager to try and make a difference and to go and to do it? Yeah, it probably is. Another day there, maybe, he's bang on and we score. I was too busy jumping around the front room like a lunatic to watch the replay. So it wasn't until afterwards I realised that it hadn't been given. Gutted. Should he have been done better? Yeah.
Lyle, I've still got the bruises, and we haven't got the goal. So, but listen, there's a question that was put up really, really early by George Z. To finish off probably on the game. What all that said and done, defensive midfield is where we lacked. But where we lacked was the cutting edge up front. Havertz didn't have the best game. He looks tired. He looks like there's too much being asked of him. He's not a proper number 9. He's a 9.5. He's a 10. He's a 9. He's done great. He's played better for us than he's played for Chelsea, and he's back to near his top form that he was in Germany in a much tougher league. I'll leave you to talk about that.
100%. Look, at the end of the day, gutted for Martinelli. He should have done better. We all agree on that. We move, but we didn't lose the game because of him. We lost the game because we're lacking a striker up top. And those are the sort of games which is why you pay your striker big money, right? That's why you're paying a striker 250 grand a week, because they'll get you a goal against a run of play, or they'll get something out of nothing. And in my opinion, that is the difference between Arsenal and Liverpool, Man City. Liverpool have it in Mo Salah, and Man City have got it in Erling Haaland. And that's the difference in levels. This is a really good Arsenal team, but history tells you if you want to be successful, you need a forward who bangs in the goals. And that's the only thing we're missing in this side, in my opinion. I would keep pretty much everyone in this squad. I haven't got a problem with any of these players. I think everyone does their role. Maybe 1 or 2 players who, you look at the likes of Jesus and Sterling, really, and, Zinni are not really pulling their weight at the moment. But everyone else does their job. But football's about goals, as we know, gents. And unfortunately for Arsenal, we've been saying it for the last 18 months, we're lacking that clinical edge up top.
That opens the whole debate about who do we get. There's also a debate about, we talk about Partey's at the end of his contract. What happens when Partey leaves is what some of the people were saying. This is some of the starred comments that I've seen throughout our conversations. We talk so much about Partey playing right back and being better as that central midfielder. I think we've probably got covered in there Declan Rice, and then add to that one to answer your question on there. The whole debate about who do we get to replace our up top, well, there's loads.
Can I tell you the answer to that question? And it'll be available for a decent fee now as well. I stand by it. I've loved this guy for a long time. He's at Napoli. Osimhen. Is that the same as what you're saying? I'll tell you why I say it as well. Osimhen was banging him in Napoli. He was banging him in the Champions League, in the league. He's gone to Galatasaray. I think he's got 8 and 9 at Galatasaray as well. Again, including goals in European football. He's had a fallout with the club. He's no longer the £100 million player he was 18 months ago. You can get very good.
Doesn't that scream alarm bells to you? He's had a fallout with the club.
No. This is rubbish, right? I'm sick of when people say it, right? It's not the army. You're football, right? The job of the manager is to manage big personalities and difficult personalities. The best managers... That's what they're paid the big money for. You can't have everyone who naturally gets on. This is we need to dispel this myth, right? Because it kills me. You look at like pick players like Cristiano Ronaldo, nightmare in the dressing room. Would you have him in your team? Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? And you look at all these characters, Cantona, thousands of other characters. At the end of the day, as long as he toes the party line, does what he needs to do, he's not breaking laws or rules or whatever, and he's scoring 25, 30 goals for us, who cares?
What about this young talent at Brighton?
Easy.
What about this young Brighton talent?
No. I think he's one for the future, but we need a goal scorer now. I like Kevin Ferguson. We need someone. He's not going to come in and score us 20, 25 goals a season. Somebody like Osterman does. And the reality is you're going to pay more of a premium for Ferguson as well because he just signed a 5-year contract last year.
Do you know what? Right? Do you know what the problem is, though, right? And this is what kills me. The problem with that Arsenal team, is that everyone walks off the pitch and they've got a goal or they've got an assist. They all think, I've done a really good job today. I want that player, who's got a goal and walks off angry they ain't got a hat-trick. And that's what we're missing. That is what, you look at it right. Back in the day, we used to say behind every goalkeeper is a ball from Ian Wright. Ian Wright walked off the pitch angry, he ain't got a hat-trick. Omri's the same. And I'm afraid to say, you need to have that player who's got that arrogance, who wants to score a hat-trick. Because you look at all these boys, they're happy. They walk off the pitch like West Ham the other week. They'd all be happy. They'd all be sitting there in the change room saying, well done, lads. No, if you want to go to that next level, you need that guy who's upset he didn't get the hat-trick. I'm sorry.
You've just described Osterman, and I'd love to see it happen. I really would. I think he's the answer to what we need.
Either that or I'd go Isak as well. Osterman or Isak. I think Isak will absolutely thrive in that team. He really will. Those balls coming in across. If we can then come back down to getting the left and right side sorted out with those crosses or those pinpoint passes from Odegaard, he'll absolutely he'll put 20, 25 away for us easily.
I'm with you, Gazza. I agree with you, mate.
Yeah, I'm not bothered who we get as long as we get 25 goal a striker. And that's what we do. We need a 20 goal plus. You're right, Gary. Listen, before we move on, the stats from that game were Arsenal had 66% of the game. We had 12 shots versus their 2 shots, 4 of which were on target and 8 are off target. They only had 2 on target. The one that Raya made a save, but I don't think that was going in personally. But he did make that save, and the goal they scored. Quick question: I never liked it from launch. It's cursed, isn't it? We've had 1 point, I think, out of this 15 games into the season. I hate it. Anybody else like it?
No. The only shirt worse than that.
Sorry, one at a time.
Sorry, why didn't we wear our red shirts yesterday?
I don't know.
Because they wear white tops. Their tops are white and black. You see,
is there not too much red on, are they? Yeah, just I couldn't figure it out when we went out. And just
we could have worn the black strip as well, but I think it's a contract with Adidas. You got to wear them a certain number of times. Dale, do you like it or not?
The only shirt worse than that is the one they brought out last week, which is a combination of the other 4 shirts put together. I don't know if you saw that horrendous monstrosity. But
I think there's been 3 other kit launches since then as well. So, it's nearly every other day.
You'll never find me in that shirt because I'll end up looking like Sully at Monsters Inc. if I wore that. So there's not a chance.
I've got one down there, a cheap Chinese one, and I do look like that. It's all right from this level, but I ain't standing up in that. I tell you that for sure. Listen, on to Wednesday night. Arsenal play Monaco. Both teams on 10 points with 5 games played. Only goal difference separating them. Arsenal are unbeaten at home in the Champions League, beating PSG 2-0 and Shakhtar Donetsk 1-0. Monaco conceded twice in the last 6 minutes to lose at home. Are they Tottenham in disguise to lose 3-2 to Benfica? But they have won 3, drawn 1, only lost 1 of their games in the Champions League. Previously, Arsenal in the round of 16 lost to Monaco 3-1, and we beat them 2-0 away. Arsenal have won 13 of the last 17 European matches, only losing 1. Lyle, what are you expecting on and off the pitch? On the pitch, we'll talk about, but the atmosphere in the stadiums and on the concourse for Champions League games has been abject, to say the least.
I think, unfortunately, as a club and as a fan base, we haven't quite cracked European football yet, in the sense that we just don't seem to be able to generate the atmosphere that. And it's not just an Arsenal thing; it's an England thing, right? You go away in Europe and be some random Thursday night game, and they're all jumping up and down, lighting up flares. And so, yeah, unfortunately, it's not. I don't think the extra edge is going to come from the 12th man in the group stage. That's for sure. So yeah, the atmosphere has been disappointing. But the most important thing is to get your job done on the pitch. And if it's loud, it's loud, and if it's not, it's not. We just got to win. We just got to win. We just got to win that game because that is so pivotal. Setting up, I think, the January if we can win that game.
Dale?
Isn't that where Balogun went?
Yes.
Isn't he at Monaco?
He is.
Yeah. Yep. Balogun went there via somewhere in France, and he's also went up to. I have it in the notes actually. Monaco striker Balogun was part of the Arsenal Academy from 2008 to 2020, signing a professional contract in 2019. He made his first team debut the following year, but made one further appearance, spending half of 21-22 at Middlesbrough before moving to France. He's had a couple of clubs in France and ended up at Monaco.
Yeah, it goes to show we did the right thing, right? There's a lot of talk about getting rid of him and what do we do, and et cetera, et cetera.
We got great money for him as well. Beautiful bit of business. We got like 35-40 million euros from him, I think.
Yeah, superb money for him.
What do you expect?
Story short, I expect a comfortable win, if I'm honest with you. I've just seen someone put 4-0 in the group. I don't think Monaco. I mean, we can say they're on the same points as us, but I expect us to be severely better than Monaco. I wouldn't be surprised if this was another win like at Sporting. That's what, in fact, part of me expects that. And I know people will say, yeah, but European football's not the same, and there's always an argument for it's not as easy at the top table. I get it. But with the Arsenal, if we play like we do, we know how important this game is. We knew how important the Sporting game was. We've said from the start, you win your home games, it becomes a lot easier. This is one of our home games. We have to go out there and win that.
See, what's interesting, and sorry, just to jump in quickly and then let Andy say something, is I actually think European football suits us better because teams don't put the low block in. It's not as physical. They want to play football. And for us, that's why we've been absolutely slaughtering teams in the home games.
Andrew?
Yeah, I think we will win it. I don't think it'll be 4-0. I think Monaco they're not a bad team. They look in League One at the moment. They're conceding less than one goal a game. So I know it's League One, but when we're coming up against us, but it just shows you that they can defend. We just got to make sure we put in a strong performance and not do what we've done the last two games again. Especially over the weekend, and come out slow. We need to come out firing. We need to come out really quick. Get something on the board as early as we can, just so we can, and then potentially go and run away with it. I think it's going to be an interesting night. I think performance-wise, there's a lot of players that I think need to have a good game.
Barry said that Monaco have some injury issues. Yes, they've got Diatta, who's been out since the 20th of November with an abductor's injury. They got Zakaria, who was out because he got a hamstring injury against Toulouse in the warm-up. They got Diop, who hasn't played since the season with a fractured foot. So they have got issues. They've won just 4 of the last 8 games. Lost 4 of the last 8 games in all competitions. So we will see. A huge question
Interesting
there.
Stats I've just come across. Most of their goals they've conceded this year have come from corners. That bodes well, doesn't it?
Absolutely brilliant. Demsek asked a question in the chat there. What will the backline be? I'm expecting Gabriel to be back because whilst he wasn't taken out as a concussion sub, I do believe that's why he was held out, because he did get one hell of a whack from Fabianski at the West Ham game, and I think it was just precautionary. They didn't expect much threat from Fulham, but Fulham also worked us out on that one. Boys, predictions. Lyle, go on. You were going to say something, Lyle?
I was just going to say, I was just thinking then, quick question to the lads. Do you actually think the new format helps us? Because obviously 4 home games, 4 away games, right? And we've actually done quite good. I don't think a lot of people thought we were going to so if you think about it, got the draw away in Atlanta, unlucky in Milan away with a 1-0. We really should have got a draw there, minimum. Obviously a great win out in out in Lisbon, and then obviously we've done what we've done. And I'm just interested to get your boys' views on the new format as to whether you like it, you don't like it, you think it suits us, it doesn't.
Yeah,
I'm a bit.
Go on, Andy, after you, mate.
No, go on, mate. Go on, mate. Go on.
I didn't like it at first. I know Trevor don't like it. It's a glorified Super League, is what it is. However, I've grown to like it, if I'm honest. I like the fact you get 4 home games because I think at home there's not a team in the world we can't beat.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that plays into our hands. I think we can beat anybody on our day at home. So I think that gives us there a better chance. When you look at the away games, you're typically going to play 2 tougher away games than you are and 2 easier away games. So I think that it gives us a better chance of gathering a higher points total.
Mm-hmm.
That looks great. Then it's down in 17th, by the way. I actually think I like this new format, truth be told. I'll be interested to see kind of how we do next season in the same format. So I'll be able to answer that question in a bit more detail. But at the moment, yeah, I quite like it. It's growing on me.
One thing that Trev said a couple of weeks ago that really sort of I agree with massively is when we played Inter away, it'd have been great to have him back at the Emirates 2 weeks later to smash him. But I think that's what we miss a little bit, is that little bit of the competitive side of that, when you've got that little 2-leg inside its own little league table, which is good.
Yeah,
I do like the variety of this, and I think for us, I think where it's proven to be a big game against Monaco, so I think every game's massive. The nice thing about it is when you look at some of the teams down the bottom who are potentially going to drop out, who've maybe been caught out by this new system, and that kind of opens up a little bit. I'm 50-50. I can't quite remember. If we win it, I'll love it.
I'm 50-50.
Can I just touch on something quickly before? I'll be interested to get your take on it, Ferg, as well. But there's a comment from Chan which goes into what Lyle has said. And so the new format's been awful. The Emirates card has been poor for Champions League games. I don't think that matters in the format, to be honest with you. I think the atmosphere has been poor regardless. And I don't think it's just Champions League. I think midweek games in general tend to be a lot quieter. So I don't think that's to do with the format because we see it across all competitions.
100%. What was the midweek game the other week at United was rubbish. The atmosphere. I mean, that's a huge game. And first half on the concourse, it weren't really that great. It was only second half it got going. So I agree with you, Del. It's just, unfortunately, as your team gets better, the atmosphere is always going to sort of not suffer. But
I think what you're finding as well at Block 5, we've built a reputation for ourselves. We don't have a drummer. Dan's busy and only able to get to the games a little bit later on. We haven't really found not a replacement because you ain't going to replace, but we haven't really found how to get it back going properly again. It's finding its feet, but we've got a reputation there. And the Man United game, for example, there was 7-8 tourists standing there with the phones. There was loads with the phones, but they're literally a bank. It was like being on, I don't know, I'm a Celebrity, or it was. I was waiting for Stuart to come in with his camera as well, or something like that. It was just there was so many cameras there being recorded.
We had that guy with the boom as well, didn't we? The sound boom.
The guy with the sound boom I had a chat with, Arsenal Football Club actually asked him to record some audio of genuine fans. And Arsenal, knowing some other little bits I know behind the scenes, Arsenal are actually trying to build some media content, build some just general content about genuine fans and not fake stuff, just genuine stuff. They don't want to have, some of it has to be choreographed and so on, but they want to have genuine people involved in and representing in the club. They actually, which I think is really good, that's a club that's as big as Arsenal Football Club are still actually recognising that there are real fans there. We're not just a Man City with everything manufactured. So I think that's really good. But it was a bit off-putting for some people. It would have been a good idea if somebody came along and said to us beforehand, listen, we're going to come in here, you're going to be singing. Do you want to make it as raucous as you can? I think that would be good. But I think we've built a bit of a reputation for ourselves on Block 5, and it does attract more tourists, and people try to record it to put it on whatever platform they want to put it on. So we need to either fulfill it or dial it right down and not bother, and then start moaning how crap the atmosphere is. It's all down to us, guys. Listen, I'm looking forward to Wednesday night. It has been a great show. Thank you. As always, I've I've been trying to trying to manage everything on here, including the private chat, the comments, and looking at the agenda and get the different screens on. Del, you want to have one final comment?
Yeah, just there's a point from Demsek, which it's a very valid point, and Lyle and yourself will know this more than Andy and I about how expensive the new Champions League format is for supporters. Right, I get it. I completely get it. But at the same time, I think it gives opportunity to other fans who can't necessarily get away tickets. Like myself, for example, I've only been to 2 European away games, absolutely loved it, and would love the opportunity to go to more. I think this new format gives people like myself the opportunity to do that potentially. And by that, it's like, for example, the away tickets I've had previously, it was someone saying that, I've done Eindhoven before, so, well, yeah, I don't necessarily need to do this. If we get more draws like that, where people have said, oh, you know what, I've already spent $8,000 this year on away travel, because you guys do spend a lot of money. I dread to think kind of how much you're spending. But there will be games potentially in the group stages this year and next year where you look at it and go, you know what, I've already done that. And that doesn't mean those tickets go to tourists. That means that people like myself get a potential opportunity. That means people like Andy potentially get an opportunity. So yes, I agree. I think it's very, you're right, Demsek. It is expensive. But it's a personal choice for those, and if they chose not to go, they can be safe in the knowledge that the tickets are going to be put to good use and go to people like, hopefully myself, like Andrew, and like a lot of our other friends in our Arsenal circle as well, who can't normally get tickets. So I get it, but that's part of the reason I think I like the new format as well.
Yeah,
I think you've also picture in my ear roll off to get to a European away game. He does not shut up about it. He's like.
We've also got to remember that the money now with the broadcasting is that, doesn't matter how traditional a fan you are, it's never going to go back to what it is, isn't it? So unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever your views are, we're only going to see more of it. And I think Del's point's spot on. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. They're never going to change it. I mean, my big bold prediction is that what you'll see in 5 years' time is you'll have a big Super League style competition in the Middle East. They'll do that every year once the Saudis or the Qataris or the Emiratis are allowed to get their hands on it because they've got the money. So the harsh reality is there's not much we can really do about it.
Well, you can, because it won't be here for much longer. It'll be in Saudi Arabia. Or
it will. I guarantee. I went out to the World Cup in Qatar, Ferg, and they've got so much. They got such stupid amount of money, mate, and it will happen. It will happen in time. When they say to the clubs, so if they said to all the Arsenal, the Man Uniteds, the Man Cities, whatever, for you turning up in this tournament in the Middle East, we'll give you, I don't know, 150, 200. Of course it's going to happen, mate. It's just a matter of time, isn't it? You can't stop the machine. I don't agree with it, but that's life.
I'm going to push the button in a minute, but local to me at the weekend. Oh, Del, you've just put it in the chat. Local to me at the weekend. A Premier League footballer who's playing for West Ham right now, or well, not right now, but is a West Ham player, had a horrific accident not 10 minutes down the road from me. Mikel Antonio, we just wish you well. You're 34. You had 4 kids. It would have been absolutely dreadful. The look of that car, I didn't think anybody was coming out of that alive, and I'm just glad he's alive. His football career may not continue, but good luck. Wish you all the best in your recovery. I'm going to press the button, guys. Boys, thank you very, very much for joining me tonight. Lyle, feels like I spent my whole weekend with you.
No, it's true though, isn't it? I mean, that's the one thing I've got to say is that I know a lot of people might be upset or not upset about certain players, certain results, certain signings, certain not signings. But at the end of the day, we're the Arsenal, and you love your football club, you follow your football club, and we love the Arsenal family, and I love all of you guys. And for me, that's more important than anything else, right? It's a difficult time of the year coming up for some, and the Arsenal family is always there for everyone, and I love it. So I see you guys sometimes more than my actual close family and friends outside of football. So, love you all. We are the Arsenal family. So it's been brilliant, mate.
It's very true, Del. It is a family, isn't it? Both on match day and throughout the week, we're all in communication together all the time, and we got each other's backs in more ways than one. Thank you very much, Del, for joining today. I know you haven't been on for a couple of weeks for your reasons, my reasons, and everything else. But thank you again, mate. Andrew filled in late for the old man. We don't have an Andrew time, so you're safe.
Well, I had that about half an hour ago. You're all right, don't worry.
Yeah, you did actually, didn't you? Yeah. I thought you were going to explode. On that note, by the way, I bumped into a couple of people in the 8 Bells who tapped me on the shoulder. Hello, mate. You Mr. Guns and Yellow Ribbons. All right, Ferg. I don't know who you were, but it was really nice for you to reach out, and I'm glad you're enjoying the show. If you do share it to your friends, we're up to 1,300 subscribers on YouTube. We've got 333 watching right now, 239 on there's about 300 of you on Twitter. Please do go over to our YouTube channel, click like and subscribe. It just helps us in doing what we're doing. I think we've just gone over the £4 threshold on what we've earned so far. So, we ain't millionaires on this. We just do it for the love of it. Up the Arsenal, fuck the Spurs.
Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Thanks for listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons or Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too. Up the Arsenal.
I done quite well. I didn't mess anything up all show. It must be because Trevor's not there, and then I mess up the music at the very end. Oh dear.